Hey everybody, Mike Phillips here. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to reverse mount a tire. If you're not sure what that means, stay tuned and you'll learn all about it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to follow along, and hit that bell, turn on your notifications. And don't forget to check out my other channel, Phillips Hot Rods and Customs. If you're into custom metal shaping, fabrication, welding, building custom cars, restoring cars, all that type of stuff, check that page out. I'll leave a link below. Let's go ahead and get started. So let's start this video off with a little lesson on why you should never trust a normal shop to ever touch your custom expensive aftermarket wheels. This job has already been attempted by another shop. They could not get the tires to go on the rims, so they bailed on the job. So let me show you what the other shop did, how they damaged the customer's wheels, pretty much damaged the tire as well, and I'll show you why they couldn't get the tire on. So the customer dropped these off today, and here's the tire that the other shop tried to mount, and they badly scuffed up the white wall on this tire. That's going to leave some pretty nasty marks that will always be there. They'll never clean up. Now, as soon as the customer opened his trunk, I just started shaking my head. I saw immediately why they couldn't get this tire on. When he brought me this in the back of his vehicle, this was upside down. Let me flip this over and I'll show you what I saw. First thing I saw was they ruined his wheels. They used a rim clamp machine, which I'll explain to you in a minute, which completely destroys the coating on the wheel. So what that means is the first time this thing sees any type of weather, the weather is going to get underneath the coating, start attacking the aluminum wheel, and it's going to corrode this wheel really, really badly. They broke through the coating, and that is going to ruin this wheel. Before I return this job to the customer, I am going to get some touch-up paint and try to seal all these areas to try to help keep the weather out. Okay, the next thing I saw, if they used a rim clamp machine, that means they had the rim on the machine face up, which is totally normal. That's how you normally mount a tire on a rim. Here's the problem. Look at this wheel. Okay, it's a deep dish wheel. It's got a lot of offset. See this bump here where the rim suddenly gets wider, and then it comes up, and then it goes back to narrow again, and then you have the actual deep dish. This area is called the drop center. Okay, on a normal wheel, the drop center is on the face side of the wheel. That drop center is there for one reason and one reason only, because that's the area that the tire has to occupy in order to get onto the rim. So normally the drop center is the face of the wheel. Normally the wheel is on the machine face up, and the tire goes on from the face down. This is a reverse drop center wheel. That's exactly what that means. It's a reverse mount. It's a reverse drop center. The drop center is on the back, which means you have to mount this rim to your machine face down, which you cannot do with typical machines, because you can't clamp it like this on the face. Well, you could if you're a real jerk and clamp the polished metal, which would be ridiculous, or clamp the outside. You would definitely risk scratching the face. You need a special machine for this job, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So the first thing we have to do is we need to get this tire back off of this rim. They already stuffed it on the front the wrong way. We need to take it back off. And that won't be too hard to do, to just get one of the beads off the wrong direction. So let's get this rim mounted on the machine the traditional way. get the tire back off, then I'll show you how to perform a reverse mount tire the correct way. So I have two tire machines. This is a rim clamp machine. This is what the other shop tried to use. It's a tabletop rim clamp. See those teeth on there? Watch what happens when I hit this pedal. They come out, they grab the inside of the rim. These teeth dig into the wheel to try to prevent the wheel from slipping on the table. You can also clamp the outside of the wheel by opening this first, laying the wheel inside, and then closing it, allowing these to grab the outside of the rim. Problem is, these are 20-inch rims. I've never seen a tabletop rim clamp machine that could outside clamp a 20-inch wheel. So, even if you were going to reverse mount them on this machine and try to clamp the outside, you can't do it. So what do? You spend a whole bunch of money on a nice machine like this. This is a Hunter machine. I've owned this machine for probably about 10 years now. TC 3900. Hunter is the best of the best of the best. This is a leverless machine. Nothing touches the wheel that could possibly damage the wheel. So let's get this rim here mounted on here the traditional way. Get that tire back off of there. Alright, so let's lay this on here as if it was not a reverse mount. And then we're going to go ahead and get this tire off of this wheel. And then I'll show you the correct way to do this. Set the machine up. Okay, that should work there. Alright, this isn't going to be too easy. We got to keep the one side of the tire in the drop center, which is really low because the tire is backwards. And at the same time, try to get the tire up over the wheel. This is going to prove to be a little difficult. I'm going to need to lower this down, which we're going to have to do anyway for the reverse mount. I was going to show you that later, but this table comes up and down in 3 different heights. Traditionally, you use it in the middle height. Really deep wheels that go top mounted, you'd raise it up pretty high. When you reverse mount stuff, you flip the wheel over and you lower the table all the way to the bottom. Getting this tire off the wrong way, I'm finding I need the table down in order for this arm to have a chance in getting this tire up over the wheel. Alright, here we go. This should work. I have to work it back and forth a little bit. It's coming off. Not happy, but it came off. Okay. Alright, so now we have the tire off the wheel and we've reversed the work that the other shop did wrong. Let's get this rim set up the correct way and reverse mount this sucker. Take the rim back off and set this on the tire pile. Alright, so we need to mount the face of this wheel against the tire machine. So you're thinking, well, geez, I really don't want the rim touching this. This is like a hard rubber, but still, you don't want that nice finished wheel touching this. So there's a couple of options. I'll show you the cheap option. The cheap option, let me get this adapter out of the way. The cheap option is these rubber pads. They're dirty because I've never once used them. But basically, this is a very soft sacrificial rubber. You're supposed to put this on there and then lay the rim on this and pray that this rubber takes the abuse before the rim gets damaged. It'll get you done in a pinch. I would never do this. Let's kick that back over there to collect more dust for another 10 years. So you're thinking to yourself, how are we going to get this face down and clamped to that machine? So let me show you the awesome adapter that you can buy from Hunter. All right, in this basket here, next to the tire machines where I keep all the accessories. That's for doing 19.5 tires. And then these fancy guys here, I bought 2 of them. These are for doing the reverse mounts. So this one I specifically keep set up for 4-lug stuff. And when I say 4-lug stuff, it's good for 4 and 8. You have to rearrange a whole bunch of stuff on here, which makes it a little bit of a pain in the butt. So because of that, I bought 2 of them, because like the bigger truck wheels, the 8 lugs, to rearrange this to make it work for a 4 takes some time. It's a little bit of a pain, and then that's not really a common thing to do, so every time you do it, you gotta switch it back. You'd never leave it set up that way. So I bought 2. So this other one here is always set up for 5-lug stuff, which is pretty much the most common all the time. I can leave it set up for 5-lug all the time and never have to mess with it. It's a little dusty. I'm going to blow this sucker off and I'll show you how it works. All right, let's make a mess here. See how much of a hazardous dust cloud I can create. Let's spray some oil on this as well. So this doesn't get used a whole lot, a couple times a year. Like any specialty tool or specialty piece of equipment, it doesn't get used a lot, but when you need it, you can't do without it. So let's blow the dirt off, oil it. You probably already see maybe how this sucker works. Let's wipe off all the excess oil. All right, so I'll show you how this sucker works. So basically, these all move in and out together. A little hard to do with one hand. There you go. See that? And they always stay 100% on center. Now, these posts have plastic tips with threads inside them. The tip itself is actually metal with a plastic coating, so the threads aren't plastic. How do we mount this to the wheel? You take this sucker, you size it up, and you mount it down in the lug nut holes. Let me put the camera on the tripod and I'll show you what I mean. So you take this, you decide which pattern you're going to use. It doesn't really matter which one. You lay it down in there. It self-centers for size, sits right in there. Nothing is actually touching the wheel. The posts sticking off this are much longer than the depth of the lug nut holes, So those plastic self-centering cone tips center down into the actual taper of the lug nut hole itself. Okay, so how do we keep this attached to the wheel? Because we gotta flip this sucker over. We don't want this falling out and nicking the actual rim. So let me grab the little thumb screws and I'll show you how to attach it. Alright, so these little thumb screws screw into those cones. So what you need to do, keep one in your hand, pushing this into the wheel, don't let this fall out, get underneath and take one of those thumb wheels, start screwing it in to the threaded hole in the tip of that cone. So let's see if I can get one lined up here. Okay, got one lined up. Now you do not have to put thumb wheels in every single one of these. You at least have to do two opposite of each other. That'll be sufficient to hold this down in there. I'm going to do 3. It is a 5 lug, so I'm going to do 2 side by side and then 1 opposite, like a triangle pattern. And I'll be confident that that's enough to hold this on there. Once I throw it on the machine, I'll show you the view from the inside and you can see what I'm looking at here. We need to put this rim on the tire machine. But what keeps this from slipping on the machine? So this adapter is now attached to the wheel. 5 of those suckers going through the lug holes, screwed on from the back. This has a cone on it and 1 big hole. That cone will self-center in here, and that big hole needs to land on this guy. Alright, so where's that hole at? Right there. Alright. So I've got that peg going through the hole and the cone self-centered. Let's go ahead and put the hold down bar down through the wheel, through the adapter. There we go. And we'll crank this tight. Just hand tight, nothing crazy. So now we have this rim sitting on the machine with the drop center. See how much that tapers in here? Drop center is facing up. Tire goes down on this way, goes down on the back of the wheel in the drop center. When I put this tire on, you'll see why that's so important. This thicker part, which is the same height as the bead that it seats on, you can't stretch the tire over this. And you can't push the tire all the way down on here into the drop center. So if the drop center is on the back, you have to mount the tire upside down. It's that simple. Now the tires we're putting on here are white walls. The customer wants the white walls out, facing the front of the wheel, so we got to remember to keep these white walls facing down. There's the white wall. This is the one that's all screwed up from the other shop. Let's have that facing down. We'll get you a shot from the inside here. So you can see this is the edge of the rim right here. Okay, here's the new tire. We need to park this arm right on the edge of the wheel there. This is plastic, it's solid plastic. There's no metal touching that wheel. At that point, we can go ahead and spin this tire down on. Let me move the camera one more time for you. Hit the pedal. Boom, look at that, falls right on. It's amazing when you do it right. Okay, so now we got to get side number 2 down on the wheel. This is where the other shop couldn't make it happen because they were putting it on the wrong side. So we need to get this bead in the drop center in order for it to go over the outside edge of the rim. Well, if you're trying to put it on the top, the drop center is 6-8 inches down. You can't compress this tire that much in order to get this into the drop center. It's not possible. I have no idea what was going through the minds of the other shop, one, when they agreed to do this job the second they saw the wheels. But then again, I've seen the workforce that's in the world today, so nothing surprises me anymore. And then when they struggled with it and struggled with it and struggled with it and realized that they couldn't get the job done, I'd really be willing to bet that they still have no idea why. So watch how easy this is when you do it the right way. Since this is a leverless machine, we're not going to use any pry bars or anything. We're going to push this down into the drop center area and just pull it around until it starts to get a little tension on it. Okay, so right there we've got a little tension on it. This is down under the drop center. The tire has to be low enough that it's in the drop center so that this is in, this can then go over. If this isn't in, you can't stretch this over. It's not a rubber band. So this has to actually be down and in the drop center so the tire is down and in far enough that this can go around the outside. That's the entire point of the drop center. I'll explain a little bit more on the next tire. Look at that. It's as easy as it gets. No lubrication, no tire paste, no soapy water, nothing. None of that stuff's necessary. I have never in my life ever had a tire that ever needed tire paste or soap or anything in order to get the tire on the wheel. Let's go ahead and hook up the air to the valve stem and get these beads to seat. All right, I think the top one already seated. It did. Let's just put like 32 in this. We can balance it at that point. And I'll tell the customer to set these tire pressures to his specs, to his vehicle, when he goes to install them. The car's not here. He just brought me rims and tires after the other shop realized that they couldn't do the job. Knock this down a little bit. I wasn't paying attention and put an extra 5 pounds in there. I don't want it to be too overinflated. 32 is a good number so that when the customer forgets, because he probably will, there's no core in there. The other shop took the core out. The customer will probably forget that I told him to check these tire pressures. So. Check that core tension once I flip this back over. All right, 32. Now I did mention I would show you what this looks like from the back side. So let's loosen this. It's got a quick release. You push it down, turn it, and pull it out. So here's what those thumb wheels look like from the back side. So I only used 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. If I really wanted to, I could have put one in here and one in here. In all reality, I probably needed to do 2. If it was a 4 lug, I probably would have done 2 opposites. If it's an 8 lug, I probably would have done 2 opposites, but I decided to do 3 for whatever reason. Thought it was a good idea, sure. So triangle pattern, you can use them all, but definitely use more than one. Absolutely use more than one. So I'm going to lift the tire off the machine. I have the thumb wheels unscrewed, so the adapter, the reverse mount adapter, is going to stay on the tire machine. So lift straight up as far as I can. Beautiful. Let's take a look at it. So look at how deep this is. I don't know how deep this offset is, but it's every bit of like 5 inches. It's a pretty nice looking wheel. These rims and tires are going on a really cool custom truck. Maybe if the truck's done before this video gets edited and posted, I'll throw up a picture of the truck with the wheels on it. But real nice tire and rim package. It'll look even better once the blue's all cleaned off of the white wall. So let's go ahead and do another one. I'll walk you through one more. I'll explain that drop center a little bit more, how the tire goes on the wheel and how important that drop center is and how it functions. Then we'll get into balancing one of these suckers. Okay. Wheel number 2. We got to put a valve stem in this thing too. Our brand new valve stem installer on a nice wheel. Do not ever leverage the valve stem installer against the wheel. Just grab it and pull it with your hand. Just pull it through. Don't fold it over and leverage it against the wheel. On any aluminum wheel, even if it's not a nice wheel, it will absolutely leave a mark. It's completely unprofessional. Even if it's on some stupid car like, you know, a Hyundai Accent or something, don't mark the customer's wheel up. Now, I highly recommend, just because that adapter is sticking on the machine with all those pegs sticking up, I highly recommend not taking this wheel, flipping upside down and trying to set it on there and putting the thumb wheels on. When you're fishing for these holes, you could absolutely scratch the paint. So don't be lazy about it. Take your time, get the adapter, bring it over, carefully set it on the wheel, find the pattern you want to use, hold the adapter in there, don't let it fall out. Go ahead and screw at least one thumb wheel in from the back before you can let go of this thing. And one more. All right. So she's mounted on there. Alright, rim number 2 mounted to the machine. Let's talk about this drop center a little bit more and why it's so important. Aside from the fact that it's on the back side of this wheel, because of how deep the offset is, ignore the fact that we're reverse mounting for a couple seconds here, and let's just talk about the importance of the drop center itself. This is the bead lip where the tire seals. Same here, that's where the tire seals. This is the diameter of the wheel. It comes straight down. This is the diameter of the wheel. So you got the bead seal area, full rim diameter, drop center, all drop center, back out to where the bead is, where the actual tire seals. So this drop area, why is that so darn important? Aside from the fact it's towards the back of this wheel, when normally this would be the face of the wheel, drop, and then the back of the wheel, this sucker's on here upside down. Ignore that. Why is this so important? So understanding the drop center is by far the most important part of putting a tire on a rim. If you don't understand how to get the tire into that drop center and why it has to be in that drop center and why it has to stay in that drop center throughout the entire job, you're going to struggle to put tires on. You're going to fight with every tire, no matter how easy of a tire it is or how hard of a tire it is. You will fight every tire if you don't understand why the drop center exists. You cannot stretch a tire, okay? The inside hole of the tire where the bead seal is, you can't stretch that, okay? It's not a rubber band. You cannot make that bigger. So how are you going to get the tire to go over the rim, which is bigger than the hole in the tire? The outside of this rim is a larger diameter than the hole in the center of the tire. So how are you going to get that tire over this when this is bigger and you can't stretch the tire? Okay? Well, in order to do so, you need a part of the wheel that is a smaller diameter than the tire. The drop center. The drop center, the diameter of the wheel throughout the drop center area is smaller than the diameter of the inside of the tire. You can't stretch a tire. So the only way you're going to get it on this rim is if you put it on the rim in the drop center area. Okay? Let me get a tire. We'll do one slowly and I'll explain it very carefully. In case you're wondering, these are 295 40 R20. Here's the tire, a white wall that's not damaged, imagine that. Okay, so this diameter here, the inside diameter of the tire, see that edge where the white wall stops? That edge is the outside of the wheel, okay? This area right here is this area right here. So knowing that, you can obviously tell that the outside diameter of this is significantly larger than the inside diameter of this wheel. So we need to get this tire down in here to get this tire to pop on the wheel. So step one, lay the tire on the rim in the correct direction. Now I'm going to try my best to film this. I got the camera down under the machine. You can clearly see the drop center here. So I need to get the tire down in that area. So what am I going to do? I'm going to tip the tire down, put the tire machine head on the rim, and push this tire down in that drop center. Okay? So this is the only part of the tire right here, none of the rest of it, just right here is down in the drop center. So the tire is down over the wheel. And it's down in that drop center area. Now since that side of the wheel is down and in the drop center, that means this side of the wheel is past the outside of the rim. Because it's down in, the whole tire is shoved over past the outside of the wheel. So if we spin the tire machine, hitting the pedal, and as it goes around, this continues to stay in the drop center as we go around. Let's go a little further. I'm going to try to stop before this pops on. Oh, too late. So what you saw happen was the entire tire was down in the drop center, making this side of the tire past the outside of the wheel, and it literally allowed it to fall on under its own weight. I didn't even have to push it down. Let me explain that one more way for those who aren't following. So for anyone that didn't understand that concept 100% yet, the diameter of this tire is smaller than the diameter of the wheel. You can't stretch a tire. This machine doesn't take this tire and stretch it bigger and get it to go over the wheel. The rim has an engineered spot called the drop center. If you get the tire down and in that drop center, you got the tire, one side of the tire is down and in that drop center, that means the far side of the tire is over past the outside of the wheel, and it can slip right over. At this point, I hope you're following, because there really isn't a better way I can think to explain it. So when you put the last side on, that's when you can really see how important it is. Let's go ahead and get that done. So you can see the drop center starts only about an inch below the bead. This is the bead here. So normally the tire would sit in this area. We need to push it right into this area so that it can go down and into this cavity, which would, if that side was down and in, this side of the tire would be shoved over beyond the edge of the wheel. Let me get it set up, and I'll show you a close-up. So the heads of a tire machine has this little crotch right here that the tire rides in. That helps push the tire down below the lip of the wheel. Normal tire machines, you'd use pry bars and stick it in there and leverage this down into the drop center. This is a leverless machine, so it has this nice arm here that we can take and just pneumatically push the tire lower than the drop center. Now as I start to rotate this and it starts to pivot on the head back here, the tire is going to try to suck into the wheel as it comes around, and then I'll show you how it's going into that drop center. So right now the tire is really kind of cattywampus on here. It's kind of shoved that way. But we need this side of the tire past the wheel. As soon as I start to rotate this tire, and this is a fixed arm, the tire is going to basically pivot around that arm and start to rotate down into the wheel, getting all that slack on this side, and that's important. So you can watch, this is going to start going in. Now this area right here is below the drop center, but right here it's not, and here it's not. So I'm going to go a little bit more, and you can hear and feel the tension. This is below the drop center, this is not. I need to keep this below the drop center. Now a lot of times you can just start manipulating it down and then give it a little more rotation and it'll just naturally just pop under. If it doesn't do that and it continues to get tight, you would take your bars on some machines. On this machine, we can take this pneumatic pusher and use it to try to help keep this down in the drop center. Okay, so we have most of the tire now down in the drop center. From here, all the way around to here, the tire is down in that drop center. It's down underneath this lip. It's down in there, which gives this side of the tire the opportunity to easily pop right over the wheel. The more we turn this, the more we need to keep making sure that this keeps going down into the drop center, Because if at any point in time this stops going into the drop center, this will not have enough room to shove over the rim lip. So this is in the drop center all the way around. Let's give it a little bit more rotation. See, this right here has to drop, and it's not dropping. So we could use a bar, but with a nice coated wheel like this, you don't want to use any tools that could scratch it. So we'll use our pusher tool, push that down, so it stays in the drop center. At this point, there's enough tension pulling this tire that way. I don't need to put this pusher arm back over here. I can leave it there. We have from here to here in the drop center. So that whole area of the tire is down and over, which gives this last bit the ability to slip right over the wheel. I'm going to go ahead and hit this and show you the close-up. Popped right over. So I can't show you on this job what would happen if you did this incorrectly with the drop center and you just went ahead and spun the machine, not paying attention to the drop center, and how badly it can rip the tire apart because these are the customer's good tires. Maybe in a future video I'll show you how to do it the wrong way with a regular mounted tire going on the face and a scrap tire. And I'll show you what happens when you just slam a tire on, push it down once and hit the pedal and get that sucker spinning, and you don't keep it in the drop center the whole time. We're halfway around, it decides it's not going to go in the drop center anymore, and how much tension it creates, and how the machine will rip the lip right off the tire and ruin a perfectly good tire. So let's go ahead and get some air in this sucker. So I hope you found this video interesting and learned a few things about reverse mounting tires and just how important the drop center of the wheel is. Next, I have to balance these tires, but for the sake of boredom and making this video too long, I'll make that a separate video, and there will be a link in the description below. Be sure to check it out. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to follow along.